Welcome to another episode of Connect the Dots. Today, I'm joined by Dan. Dan, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Jack.
Why don't you start by telling our audience a little bit about yourself and FisherBay, please, Dan?
Oh, that'd be great. Currently, FisherBay is a group that just buys real estate, predominantly multifamily, and we have quite a few doors. I also help coach people in real estate through REI, and my goal is as a fractional acquisition director is really to help them through if they're new to multifamily, how to get them all the way through to the ownership on good deals. Before that, I was a CFO for AIG and GE Capital as a C in divisions of. AIG was AIG Russia, so I lived in Moscow, Russia, and then
Nice.
became the Central and Eastern European head for finance.
Nice.
And with GE, I was the insurance arm. I also became the CEO of TD Bank's insurance arm in Barbados, and
Wow.
then did a startup in Beijing. So all those exotic places. Well, really not too exotic. Some of them are cold.
Yeah, absolutely. What inspired the creation of FisherBay and, focus on the multifamily and, the investment side?
Yeah, we were buying companies in 2020, and anytime you put real estate and operations, it's a little bit more complex
Yeah.
puzzle. And money dried up during COVID. And my partner and I looked at each other and said, "Hey, why don't we do real estate?" There's a lot of people who have done very well in real estate,
Yeah.
and particularly in the U.S., where there's a lot of tax advantages to real estate, and even with the big beautiful bill, that has become even better. So real estate is where we ended up.
Absolutely. I got to ask, buddy, what would you be doing if you were not in this space?
Yeah, I thoroughly love being an expat overseas. It's a young man's game, and so it's like because people in the United States will call you up or in Canada or something, and they don't care what time it is. It may be 10 hours different, and you're waking up and they're talking business. So it really and you are owned by the companies when you're an expat. But I thoroughly loved being overseas, working representing different companies. I also traveled and worked for a Dutch company called Aegon too. So
Nice.
a Dutch, Canadian, and two American companies took me
Wow.
overseas. So,
How do you explain Fisher Bay to somebody new to real estate?
yeah, maybe Fisher Bay is basically a syndicating model. We invest some of our money into a deal, and then we raise friends and family capital. We have once done a more public offering, but generally speaking, we just work with friends and family. And the whole idea it's a numbers game. So
Yeah.
it's what do we think we can make as a profit, and can we execute against this operational plan? And you have to have all that in line before you even make money go hard, right? Before any money goes hard, because you don't want to lose any money. It's, the first 90 days, first really 30 to 45 days are really intense once you
Oh,
have something under contract, because you got
yeah.
to put that plan together and you have to do the due diligence on the property itself.
I read on the website, you talk about creating great residence experience. What does that actually look like in practice?
Yes. Well, I wish I was so successful and I always did it. It's not always that way, but we do learn along the way. We do have a philosophy or belief, and I do think it's just drawn in human nature that if you give and you care about other people, you serve well,
Yeah,
that they will recognize it, right? So,
sure.
so if I'm serving my investors well and giving them good return and fair returns, right? They keep reinvesting, and that we've seen that. If I serve my tenants well and I give them a good place that they can call home, a safe place, I can probably raise rents a little better, and I probably have a persistency.
Yeah.
It's a true statement. It was true in banking and insurance. I think it's a human nature thing. So I'll give you a real case in point. We Chattanooga is not super dangerous, but we bought something in a very mixed neighborhood, a rougher neighborhood. 250 to 300 police calls in a year for 60 doors, and generally speaking, that should be about 2 to 4. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
exponentially bad. And our goal was to make it clean and safe. And we've seen that the police calls drop dramatically.
Wow.
And we see children going into the complexes and running around and playing the playground. So, caring about the tenants does make a difference eventually.
Absolutely. I was going to ask on that. So, do you look for, a certain market, a certain city? Do you decide on? And I know you decide on many things
Yes.
before investing.
Yeah. Originally, Fisher Bay had drew a circle around Chattanooga and
Yeah, I've seen
said we
that.
wanted to invest within a driving distance. So if something bad happened or we needed to be on site to help the property manager, because we don't property manage, we could be there to assist and help. Um, what we eventually did is we expanded that a little bit more into the Texas Triangle and into Florida for various reasons. But we did a geography location and we want to get some density in a location
Yeah.
so that we can be more efficient with expenses in essence.
Makes sense. Can you share a project recently? Oh, well, not just recently, or a project that sticks in mind where it really demonstrates who Fisher Bay are?
Well, we've had one full cycle with one property because generally speaking, we're buying and holding. This property is up in it's technically Hopkinsville, Kentucky, but it's the Clarksville, Tennessee area, MSA, and and we purchased it at about I think it was 7.6, and we just started, and we had oh, I don't remember how many. It was 80 doors, maybe 20 of them were expats from foreign countries that were working in the manufacturing sector, auto sector, in particular. And so we started, translating things into Japanese and into the language, their first languages, and started taking care of it. Then, we noticed we were the only A property in the vicinity. So we started raising rents, consistently, so that the experience matched what they were paying.
Yeah.
And I remember about 2 years into the property, one of my partners came up and said, "What if we could get X for it?" And I said, "Well, I don't think we're ready for that, but if you get that, it's
Yeah.
going to be hard for us to say not to sell." And he
Yeah.
did, and so we sold. And our investors got somewhere around a 33 to 35%
Wow.
return on capital annually. And
Wow.
it's tough in a couple of years not to take a dollar invested and get a buck 70 back.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Well, I got to ask, shifting the conversation to AI is a hot topic on everybody's mind. I'd love to get
Yeah.
your opinion on AI, and do you use AI at Fisher Bay?
Yeah. First of all, AI it's a great way of supplementing a lot of things. Everything from agreements to how you contact people, particularly if
Mm,
so we're mainly friends and family, so we're not really going out searching for other investors outside of people we already know.
yeah.
Uh, but AI is very relevant in all aspects, and it's getting more and more relevant. I think if we were a fund or we had a bigger platform, we maybe would use that, and maybe we'd go past friends and family. But we have not used it in that way. Um, the where I do use it is with REI and the folks that I'm helping as a fractional acquisition director, and we use it all the time there. And
Yeah.
they're the you know, it's a totally different. They're newbies. They're looking for someone with experience to help them, acquire multifamilies in particular, and AI has been very helpful there.
I guess if you could take a magic wand, is there anything that you would like AI to do, throughout your business?
I think probably the one area that it could be used is the marketing, the lead generation. That
Hmm.
lead generation, if managed well, would be helping raise capital. That lead generation the tools could be used for finding tenants and marketing the facilities. I think that aspect is even AI can be used for finding properties.
Hmm.
Instead of just looking for things that are on the market or doing, a virtual assistant is a very common practice where they call. Well, now
Yeah.
you can use AI for that. You don't need a person necessarily.
Mhm.
for that too. So,
So do you mean
and
an AI chatbot to call out?
exactly. So calling owners and property managers, and if they know of any properties for sale, or does an owner have interest in selling, right? Try to get that, the very same thing that the brokers are doing, but we're buyers, right? So
Yeah.
just bypass the broker in a sense.
Absolutely. Okay, so back into sort of lessons and challenges, I guess. I would love to ask, is there any misconception people have when it comes to real estate investing?
Oh, there's probably all kinds. That's that's a if everybody has a nose, there's probably all kinds of misconceptions based on every nose, including me, by the way. So we're always learning. Real estate is unique to a property. It's unique to the sellers and the buyers, and what they think they can do with the capital stack and what they can do with the property. The location makes it unique. So one of the beautiful things, if you like learning, is real estate. You're always learning. There's just no doubt about that. One of the most recent, because I'm closing today with a group of partners on a $23 million tour
Congrats.
this afternoon. So,
Congrats.
we have found in this situation, in this time, capital raise has been very difficult and more challenging than it has been in the past. And so sometimes we it's good to have confidence. Sometimes we are overconfident, and getting out there early is important. The other thing, misconception that I see on the seller side sometimes
Yeah.
is they overvalue their property, and
Everybody does.
yes, and
I do.
yeah, and part of that is you have to have honest conversations
Yeah, you
on
do.
that, and
Mhm.
I think people do appreciate that, even in difficult circumstances. Now, often those difficult conversations happen after you have it under contract, um, uh, but that's just part of it.
Absolutely, buddy. I'd love for you to share maybe some insights or a little bit of knowledge for our younger audience, potentially thinking about getting into, the space. Do you have any sort of advice for our younger listeners?
Um, I didn't enter it until late in my career.
Mm,
My one of my partners, his family started doing this in 1869, I think it was.
wow.
And so
Well,
but he didn't get back into it until late in his career too.
yeah.
Real estate has made a lot of folks rich. Real estate is a limited product, right? It's not like you're creating more land. You
Hmm.
create a different experience on the piece of land. But I think it's very wise to have that into your portfolio. It's also one of those things that if you're buying real estate, even if it's small, even a duplex, four family, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be. You start someplace, but you don't have any financial advisors taking a piece of the cut. You don't have, you're a little bit more in control.
Yeah.
The downside is you may have to fix a few, toilets along the way, right? But that's okay. That's also it's a humbling experience and a growing experience.
Yeah. So would you even advise, starting off small, maybe a flip or a rental or
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I probably wouldn't do single family homes. I do think there's a correlation. If you do, you can look up some Fed surveys and reports. There's a correlation between rents and property values, so that there's a spread between a renter and an owner, and that has widened, which would give some indication that single family homes are overpriced. And because the rental value you can't raise enough there
yeah.
because wages aren't going up. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't advise anybody to go into single family homes at this point. I would probably
Yeah.
do duplexes or otherwise.
When I was 18, I invested in single property homes, and I quickly realized after a couple of years that it's definitely not the best method to do. And I very quickly sold my properties.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
wish,
and it has
go
some
on.
volatility to it, more volatility than,
Yeah.
the more doors you get, we refer to a door. So if I have 60, 100, 200 doors, my volatility is less. So I may not get that big upside, but I won't get that big downside either. And so,
Yeah.
that's part of it.
Absolutely. Dan, thank you so much, buddy. I really, really enjoyed that